Donald Trump once touted tariffs as a bold move to protect American jobs and punish China. He promised that these tough measures would bring manufacturing back to American soil, restore lost industries, and send a clear message to foreign competitors that the U.S. would no longer tolerate unfair trade practices. But now, the very policies he championed are creating political and economic headaches. Economists warn that the ripple effects are more complex than anticipated, and lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are feeling the heat from constituents. The world is watching as the US and China's standoff disrupts supply chains and global markets. Companies are scrambling to adapt, rerouting shipments and rethinking their global strategies as uncertainty grows. The promised benefits have been slow to materialize, while the downsides, higher prices and retaliatory tariffs, are hitting home. Everyday Americans are feeling the pinch at the checkout line as the cost of goods from electronics to groceries continues to climb. American consumers are paying more, and farmers, a key Trump constituency, have been squeezed by China's countermeasures. Many rural communities are struggling, with unsold crops piling up and equipment sitting idle, waiting for relief that seems just out of reach. Trump faces a political puzzle: how to defend a policy that's causing pain for his base. His supporters, once enthusiastic about tough talk on trade, are now voicing concerns about their livelihoods and the future of their businesses. His shifting tone suggests mounting pressure. Publicly, he insists the tariffs are working, but behind closed doors, advisors debate the best path forward as the stakes continue to rise. The tariffs, once a symbol of strength, now threaten his political future and the US-China relationship. The world's two largest economies are locked in a standoff, with no clear resolution in sight. International businesses and allies are caught in the crossfire, fueling global uncertainty. Investors are nervous, and world leaders are urging restraint, worried that prolonged conflict could tip the global economy into recession. As we dig deeper, we'll see how Trump's trade war has become a high-stakes gamble with no easy exit. Every move is watched closely, with billions of dollars and millions of jobs hanging in the balance. The question: can he find a way out without looking weak, or will he double down on a risky strategy? The outcome could reshape not just his presidency, but the future of global trade for years to come. The US-China trade war officially began in 2018, marking a dramatic turning point in global economic relations. President Donald Trump announced sweeping tariffs, aiming to counter what he described as years of unfair Chinese trade practices and intellectual property theft. The administration's stated goal was to pressure China into changing its policies, while also making American-made goods more competitive both at home and abroad. In response, China retaliated almost immediately, and both countries quickly escalated the conflict, slapping tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of each other's goods. Trump's tough rhetoric framed the trade war as a necessary battle for America's economic future, promising to bring jobs back and restore manufacturing strength. But the reality was more complicated than the political slogans. Tariffs are actually paid by US importers, not by China directly, leading to higher costs for American businesses. Many American companies, especially those relying on Chinese parts and materials, saw their costs rise sharply, and these increases were often passed on to everyday consumers in the form of higher prices. This economic pain contradicted Trump's repeated promises that tariffs would be painless for Americans, revealing the complex realities behind the policy. In 2020, the so-called Phase 1 deal brought a temporary pause to the escalation, but most tariffs remained in place, and many of the biggest issues, like technology transfer and market access, were left unresolved. As a result, the US economy was left in a state of limbo. Costs for businesses and consumers were up, while the promised benefits of the trade war remained elusive. Over time, the trade war became more than just a dispute over tariffs. It evolved into a powerful symbol of the growing rivalry and competition between the United States and China on the world stage. Instead of a clear victory, the American economy is still grappling with the fallout, facing new challenges and uncertainties in a rapidly changing global market. Today, the world's two largest economies remain locked in a tense standoff, with global supply chains and international markets feeling the strain. The legacy of the trade war is one of uncertainty, unfinished business, and a reminder that economic battles can have far-reaching and unpredictable consequences for everyone involved. Polls show Americans are increasingly skeptical of Trump's tariffs. While some core supporters back the trade war, most now believe tariffs have hurt the U.S. economy. Independent voters, crucial in any election, are especially wary. Trump's overall economic approval remains decent, but his trade policies are a weak spot. Fewer than 40% of Americans approve of his approach to international trade. Rising prices on everyday goods, washing machines, furniture, electronics, are fueling anxiety. The narrative that tariffs hurt regular Americans is gaining traction. This shift in public opinion is a growing political challenge for Trump. The tariff issue is now a volatile topic, with real consequences for his campaign. Tariffs aren't just a policy debate, they hit Americans' wallets in ways that are both immediate and deeply personal. For millions of families, the effects are felt every time they shop for groceries, pay bills, or try to save for the future. Everyday items, from shoes to TVs and even basic household goods, now cost more than they did before. These price hikes add up, straining budgets and forcing families to make tough choices about what they can afford. Farmers, especially soybean growers, lost their biggest market when China retaliated with tariffs of its own. For many rural communities, this meant plummeting crop prices and a sense of uncertainty about the future. Billions in government aid have been sent to help, but these payments haven't erased the uncertainty or the financial losses. Many farmers still worry about next season and whether their farms will survive. Small businesses that rely on Chinese parts or materials now face higher costs, difficult decisions, and sometimes even layoffs. For some, the increased expenses threaten their very survival. Some businesses try to absorb the costs, others are forced to raise prices, and a few have no choice but to shut down entirely, leaving workers and communities in limbo. In manufacturing, a handful of jobs were protected by tariffs, but far more were hurt by rising material costs and shrinking demand. The ripple effects are felt across entire industries. The modern economy is a web. Helping one sector can unintentionally hurt many others. When one link is strained, the whole system feels the pressure. The result is widespread challenges, especially for families and small businesses trying to stay afloat in uncertain times. Every dollar counts, and every setback is felt. The fallout from tariffs is uneven, but the pain is real and widespread. Some communities are hit harder than others, but few are left untouched. For many Americans, the costs of the trade war outweigh any promised benefits, leading to frustration and calls for change. The political stakes are high as voters feel the impact in their daily lives and look to leaders for solutions. Tariffs have become a defining issue in elections and public debate. Navigating this new economic reality is a major test for Trump, as he faces pressure from both supporters and critics to deliver real results for American families and businesses. The tariffs have forced American industries to adapt fast. Steel and aluminum producers got a boost, but automakers and construction firms saw costs spike. Tech giants like Apple scrambled to shift supply chains out of China, a slow, costly process. Retailers like Walmart and Target faced tough choices: absorb costs or raise prices. The National Retail Federation calls tariffs a tax on American families. Even rural communities feel the ripple effect as struggling farmers spend less. The economy's interconnectedness means no industry is untouched. A policy aimed at China has reshaped business decisions across the U.S. Economists have long warned that trade wars are costly and hard to win. Experts like Dr. Mary Lovely point out that U.S. consumers and businesses, not China, bear most tariff costs. Decades-old supply chains were disrupted overnight, creating chaos and inefficiency. While some industries saw protection, most faced higher costs and lost competitiveness. The result: a less efficient economy and, often, a net loss of jobs. The expert consensus is clear. Tariffs are a blunt tool with wide collateral damage. Trump's simple victory narrative clashes with this complex reality. The mounting evidence makes it harder to claim the strategy is working. The economic facts are now impossible to ignore. The tariffs have split the Republican Party. Traditional free trade Republicans clash with Trump's protectionist wing. Lawmakers from farm and manufacturing states are hearing from constituents hurt by tariffs. The pressure is on: back Trump or side with local businesses and families. Democrats have seized the issue, calling the trade war reckless and harmful. For Trump, the stakes are personal. His image as a deal-maker is on the line. Backing down risks looking weak. Doubling down risks more economic pain. The tariff saga is now a political trap with no easy escape. How Trump navigates this divide could define his political future. China's response to U.S. tariffs has been strategic and tough. Beijing hit back with tariffs targeting Trump's rural base, especially farmers. China is diversifying trade partners, reducing reliance on the U.S., and boosting global influence. The trade war has let China position itself as a champion of free trade, appealing to U.S. allies. Internally, China has used the conflict to rally national pride and strengthen its negotiating stance. The dispute is now about more than trade. It's a long-term power struggle. China's moves show this is a global competition, not just a tariff fight. The world is watching as the balance of power shifts. Trump faces a crossroads with his tariff policy. The trade war's costs are mounting, and the political risks are growing. To recover, he could negotiate a new deal with China, lift tariffs and claim victory. Or he could double down, but with a smarter, more targeted approach, perhaps working with allies. Either way, the current path isn't sustainable. Trump must adapt or risk further political damage. The US-China trade relationship will shape the global economy for years. For voters, staying informed and engaged is crucial. The story isn't over, and the next move could change everything. The world waits to see what Trump will do next.